And some guys, you know, they're tough. They're tough.
Mentally,
they're too tough for their own good. And yeah, you want to be the warrior, but I've been around these guys, man, where you just have to be like, nah, we're stopping the fight. Like in MMA, you know, you get hit a little too much, you take them down, and you take a breath, and you get your wits about you. And yeah, the fight doesn't stop. And yeah, guys get hit after the bell. Yeah, guys get hit after they get knocked out. But you don't see guys get knocked out, stand back up, and get knocked out again, and stand back up and get knocked out again. Like, you don't see that shit. You don't see that shit in MMA. You see a guy get knocked down, and usually once that first knockdown happens, two, maybe 3 punches later, they're stopping the fight.
Yeah.
Or there's a submission. Yeah, it'll tear up their knee, but I'd rather have my knee be blown off than have my brain be blown off. And I say that now that I have good knees, but I mean that. Like, I think eventually we're going to see a death in MMA. I hope we don't, but I think it's just a matter of time before we see the first person die.
We thought that Ben Askren died.
Bro. We made fun of that, but that knockout was vicious.
Yeah, bro. I mean, it something like that can easily, you know, you hit him right in the temple. I mean, he's gone, bro.
Oh, yeah, it was horrible. And it's
just the way it is, bro. It's
dangerous. Here's the thing.
It's a combat sport.
The reason I love these sports is the danger is there. It's the beauty in the technique.
Yeah. 100.
But the danger is so prevalent. The danger is so much in there, and it's crazy the things that can happen. And, bro, my hearts go out to the family, man.
And you know what? Nobody really talks about this, but Luis King Kong Ortiz, he killed a boxer about 5 to 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And well, nobody talks about how that is also not fair for that boxer.
Nope.
They're doing something that they love, and they unfortunately cause damage to somebody else legally, within the rules, unintentional. No, but you don't go in there wanting to kill somebody. You go in there wanting to pound the heck out of somebody, but death, I don't think it's never in their mind.
It happened in the 80s with Vinny Boom Boom Mancini.
Yeah.
You know, he killed somebody in the late rounds.
Mm-hmm.
It's happened throughout the years. It's just the dangers are real, and I think that's why, you know, boxers, at least the boxing heads, old school boxing heads, they're fans of the sport, but they understand the dangers, and I think that's why there's so much more of there's so much more of the respect for the sport than MMA fans.
Yeah.
And I think I really do believe this, and it might not happen just because of the way the rules are set up. One day it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Somebody's going to die in the ring. Legitimately die in the ring because of a strike or because of exhaustion, or somebody cut too much weight and fought and something bad happened, you know? And that's when MMA fans are going to be like, start having a little more respect for the sport and the fighters, because these guys are putting their lives on the line.
Yeah, pay them more too. They don't get paid. UFC fighters do not get paid as much as boxing.
It's getting better, but it's not the same.
It's they're still on a different planet. It's on a different tax bracket, bro. But for sure, it's unfortunate, man. And a hearts out to Maxim and his family, and even to the boxer that caused the damage. We all know it was unintentional, but you know, may you heal mentally and emotionally soon as well.
Yeah. So we hit to one of the third segment of the day. This is a tough subject, all right? Before we get into this subject, I do want to say that this is never easy to talk about when it comes, because it's a politically driven subject.
Right.
And we're not here to pick sides. We're not here to judge, but we're here to give analysts an opinion and hopefully make sense of what's going on.
Oh, and also what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong.
True.
It's as black and white as that.
So, if you've been under a rock, I'm sorry, but Puerto Rico's on fire. And both metaphorically, physically, politically. This has been called one of the biggest scandals, definitely in Puerto Rican history.
Yeah.
But in U.S. political history as well. Basically, El Centro de Investigación en Puerto Rico, which is a journalistic company, leaked a 900-page text thread of the governor Ricardo Rosselló and some of his cronies talking some defamatory language that I will not repeat on this podcast, of people like Julian Cruz, the mayor of San Juan, and other people in the cabinet, and people that are against him. The corruption, that text thread exposed a lot of the corruption that was already suspected to be within the government of Puerto Rico.
Suspected.
I
think that's an understatement. Suspected.
It's been like a everybody knows but nobody can prove it. That's what I mean. Suspected. Everybody knows but nobody can prove it kind of deal. It's almost been proven that it was there. Late last week, if you've been on social media, you've seen the hashtag Ricky Renuncia trending like wildfire all over Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, people calling for a coup d'etat. Here's the deal. Ricardo Rosselló, I think, and I want to pick my words wisely, because I don't necessarily like the guy, but I don't necessarily not like the guy. Mm-hmm. I think he has one of the toughest jobs in the world. Straight up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was there when his father, Pedro Rosselló, was governor of Puerto Rico, and that dude was corrupt as fuck. And, you know, Puerto Rico, this was during the Clinton years, so it has nothing to do with political party. It has everything to do that Ricardo Rosselló, during his tenure as governor of Puerto Rico, has had to deal with the worst economy Puerto Rico has ever seen, along with the biggest natural disaster Puerto Rico has ever seen, and now the biggest scandal Puerto Rico has ever seen. Do I think he could do the job? I think no man can do that job. But I also think that the will of the people should be heard. And when you win in a four-man race, when you win 42% of the population and more people didn't want you in office than the ones that voted you in, you shouldn't be going up against their will. You should be trying to please them as much as you can. Corruption in Puerto Rico is a byproduct of a lot of the laws that have been instilled onto Puerto Rico because of the United States and the treaty that they have with the United States.
Right.
Just to list off some of these facts before we get into the weeds on this and we start going back and forth.
Can I say something before you go?
Dale.
And just to give the audience an understanding, Puerto Ricans are, by birth, U.S. citizens.
Yes.
And it is a commonwealth. It is not a state.
It is a commonwealth of the United States.
Right.
That's correct. But along, I was going to state some of these facts just so you guys have context. Puerto Rico was acquired via the Spanish-American War back in 1898.
120 years ago.
Right? Before that, it was a Spanish colony for over 200 years. Puerto Ricans that live on the island are second-class citizens. By that, I mean they pay federal taxes, but they cannot vote for the presidential election, only in the primary. And they have no representation in Congress. They have one delegate that advocates for them, but they have no vote. Okay? You already mentioned it. Puerto Rico is classified as a commonwealth of the United States. In 2015, this is the most recent vote, there was a referendum to become a state, which is non-binding, which means that that's basically the people of Puerto Rico saying to the United States, we want to become a state. But it's non-binding, which means Puerto Rico can say we want to become a state all they want, but unless Congress enacts the process to get that started, it means nothing. But even though 95% of the voters wanted to become a state, only 20% of the voting population actually voted. So basically, nothing happened. Another thing is part of being a Commonwealth of the United States is there was a law enacted soon after the U.S. acquired Puerto Rico, something called the Jones Act, which has stifled Puerto Rico's economy for the better part of the last 100 years. The Jones Act was written into law during FDR to control the goods going in and out of Puerto Rico. Basically, for in layman's terms, anything that goes into the island of Puerto Rico has to hit a U.S. dock first and then go to Puerto Rico. So it has been lifted in the past due to natural disasters and stuff like that. Right. But for the most part, that is an archaic law to control Puerto Rico instead of allowing them to freely trade with the world. And another thing is, of course, Hurricane Maria hit in late 2017. And as far as the latest actual numbers, 3,000 plus people dead.
And not necessarily because of the actual hurricane while it was hitting the island, but after the fact.
Yes.
Diseases, yes.
Yes. Here's the deal. Puerto Rico is a very complicated, politically complicated. I'm going to use the word state because it means land, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very complicated issue. I don't have answers. I can only tell you my perspective from my point of view. There are great arguments for both statehood and independence. And I'm going to try to cover that with you guys today. But I want to get your opinion. What do you think of the chat log? What do you think of the corruption in Puerto Rico? What do you think of... the whole island basically being shut down across the island. Over 100,000 people showing up in the capital of San Juan to protest the governor. And they have not stopped and grown in numbers and peaceful. By the way, peaceful demonstrations. Yes. Okay? Peaceful demonstrations. Since last Friday, I think as of this morning, there was over 200,000 people.
It's growing.
And it's still growing. Puerto Ricans from across the world are making the trip back to Puerto Rico to remove this governor from office.
Yeah. I feel like they are so fed up. And when I say they, I mean obviously the Puerto Ricans, both natural birth in Puerto Rico and or born anywhere else in the U.S. that still has family that are attached. I mean, it's something, like how you were saying, I suspected, and this was something that Puerto Rico was waiting for a long time to happen so that the people could make something happen.
Yeah.
It was the elephant in the room. It gave the opportunity for the people to really act out. I mean, honestly, it's disgusting, and the reports were that he made homophobic statements, sexist statements. He made fun of... the dead bodies, basically, that were piled up by the...
Stupid. You're... Look, man, I don't... We have a...
It's just inhumane, bro.
Yeah. Man, as vulgar as President Trump is, I've never heard President Trump say any kinds of those things.
I mean, we haven't read his text messages, that's for sure. But, for sure. I mean, that's as bad as it can get, bro, honestly.
So... Earlier yesterday, okay. As of yesterday, Governor Rosselló did a press release saying that he will not seek re-election, but he will not step down.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he's the wise guy here. Maybe he understands that there's nobody to succeed him, and that even though he probably, if I was in his shoes and I see 100,000 people protesting in my front lawn, I would want to leave too because I'm afraid for my life. But I don't think he can. Even if he wanted to, I don't think he can. Who's going to take over?
Can somebody from the U.S. go and help run Puerto Rico?
That's the worst thing to do.
Really?
I think so.
Even someone that's naturally born in the U.S. that is Puerto Rican?
Who? Sonia Sotomayor.
Cortez?
I think she's in New York. I don't think she's Puerto Rican.
Point is, right? She is...
Pa' qué? For that socialist bitch